Hey, Buff Nation, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson here. This week in the Buffalo Stampede, we're talking football coming off the loss at Cal. Coach Gary Barnett, former quarterback Bobby Passaventa will join us. Nice win, a header for the victory in overtime by Shyra James as we talk CU soccer. And Mark Wetmore, the cross-country coach for the Buffaloes, joins us as well. This week on the Buffalo Stampede.
Dimitri Stanley is going to take it to the house.
Place there is why he's one of the best linebackers in America. And there he goes! Touchdown! Right between the eyes from downtown.
Attaboy Lolo.
It's a winner for the Buffs.
Ball is right in front. A couple of shot fakes to Chief Barry.
Rice might have a chance here. He's going to from a yard deep along the hash across the 5 to 10. Cuts left 15. Got a blocker in front of him. Cuts inside him 30, 35-yard line, 40-yard line, down the sideline, 45, 50, 45, 40. Got the kicker to beat and out of bounds inside the 35, down around the 30-yard line. But how about that return by Brendan Rice? That is a 67-yard return by Rice.
Well, there wasn't much to grasp onto after that ball game. That certainly was a great play. 67-yard kickoff return by Brendan Rice, but the Buffaloes fall 26-3 after winning last week. Lose big this week here in Berkeley. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Stampede. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Coach Gary Barnett joining us. That was painful.
No other way to say it, Mark, on all levels. And it was painful to all the coaches, painful to the players, painful certainly to us. But you know, they're in it, and they are the only ones that have solutions. Yeah. You and I don't. Nobody else on the outside does. It just got to come from inside, whether it's a combination of players and coaches or whatever. But that's the only answer is there.
This is one of those things you don't expect. I mean, last week the Buffaloes were productive on offense, 34-0 over Arizona. Barely broke 100 yards of offense. As a coach, you don't see that kind of thing coming, I would think, a lot of times, do you?
No, I don't think. I mean, you may always think it could be there, and you always have that suspicion, but it very rarely ever rears its head. But I think you're always aware, if you're not very good, that this sort of thing can happen, and that's what we had happen today.
So the Buffaloes end up falling in this one big time. Now, much of the season we've been talking about the quarterback play of Brendan Lewis. It's far too simplistic to blame that young man for this. He's not playing great football. But, Gary, there was a point out there, 2 consecutive sacks. That offensive front was getting pushed around. There's a lot of things going on out there, and it's not Brendan Lewis all the time.
No, they struggle in the offensive line, and they have been for a while. And I think that Brendan's taken most of the criticism, but in reality, it's everybody's involved in it.
Yeah, without question. He tried to make a couple of plays out there. They tried early on in this ball game to go deep a couple of times. That's an awful tough deal. Now, Brendan Rice was off the top. He's a player now. They have a tough time getting him the ball. When he gets the ball in his hands, you can see where the potential is with him.
No question. And I feel that way about all of our receivers, but we can't run the football. I mean, we came off of a season a year ago where we could run it on everybody, and now we can't run it on anybody. So it's a mess right now. It's just there's no productivity at any level except probably special teams.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that concept about not running the football in just a moment. Brendan Rice was in the post-game press conference and talked a little bit about his positive thinking and what he's looking forward to with this football team.
Yeah, we all do practice hard, but we're not practicing hard enough. We need to take it up to the next level in order to push it to that next level in the game and make sure that we can score on every drive, make sure that we can get something out of every drive. Because like these 3 and outs, they're not going to do it. 3 points on the board, that's not going to do it. There's no room for anybody who's trying to be out or trying to excuse themselves from the team. We need to all be bought in order for us to take the next step, because even this season's not over. And the season sets us up for next season. And if we're not bought in, then next season's going to go the same way, because we're still going to have those cancers on the team. People are too nice. People are way too nice, and that's all going to change this week. We need that change to get this push forward, because this isn't. It's not the coaches. It starts with the players. So it's time to start to take that next step. Of course, we have more leaders on the defensive side, but we need more on the offense, because the people that are leading the offense their voices aren't heard enough or loud enough, and I'm gonna start speaking up because but the thing is, for me to even speak up, I can't have no drop-offs in practice. I have to practice a certain way. I have to exemplify myself a certain way for me to step up.
Well, there was Brendan Rice after the Buffaloes fall 26-3 as they lose here to Berkeley, to the Golden Bears. And now look forward to the Oregon game coming up next week. We continue with Coach Gary Barnett. You said before we heard from Brendan Rice, this is essentially the same line we saw last year in which the Buffaloes did run the ball effectively. Lose one guy. Will Sherman goes to the NFL. Why the big change, do you think, as you look at this team?
It's hard to say, Mark. And I'm at practice many days, and they do work hard. There seems like there's energy, there seems like there's enthusiasm, but it's not carrying over to the games is what's happening. And you know, as a coach, you don't always have all the answers, but it's your responsibility to find the answers and create the answers. And so that's sort of where we are right now. It's sort of reached an all-time low here. And there's nobody there to solve the problems for you. You got to go solve them for yourself with the help of your players.
Well, the Buffaloes were not good offensively. Defensively, they struggled this one as well.
They did struggle.
Garbers is a good quarterback. I don't say he's a great quarterback, but he really played well and gave the Buffaloes a lot of problems in this one.
Yeah, he played really well, and he is a good player. And I mean, you're playing a veteran team. I mean, Cal's a very veteran team, and the Buffs aren't. And sooner or later, that stuff does catch up to you, and it's certainly caught up to them today.
Well, things are not going to get easy. Before the season began, many thought that Oregon was hands down the best team in the league. I'm not sure that's true anymore. They're still a very good football team. Had a heck of a battle with UCLA on Saturday at the Rose Bowl. That's a steep hill to climb.
It is a steep hill, but you know what? You gotta love. If you're going to be in this business, you better love challenges. They got one.
There's no doubt about it. It was a challenge to broadcast this one, and the Buffs have a challenge next week. That's the Coach Gary Barnett coming up next. Our silent reporter and former quarterback Bobby Passavento will join us here in the Stampede.
There is Brooks on the carry, and he's hit and dropped immediately by Landman.
Well, again, Landman is going to be all over the field. He's a tackling machine, and that's what the coaching staff you see really appreciates.
Well, one guy who always shows up, number 53, Nate Landman. That was his 400th tackle of his career. By the way, on that list along with him, Remington, Russell, Dizon, Beekert, and Johnson. Not this Johnson, by the way, voice of Teddy Johnson. Mark Johnson, Bobby Passavento, former quarterback for the Colorado Buffaloes. Death taxes Nate Landman, right?
Yeah, he's a heck of a football player. I mean, there's a reason why he's one of the best linebackers in the country, probably the best linebacker in the country. And you said it in the broadcast, tackled by Landman. It seems like you keep saying it over and over again. He's always around. I mean, he's a special football player.
Yep, and it's too bad that's getting wasted as the Buffs fall in this one. 26-3, they lose at Cal. Cal had not, by the way, was the only team left in the conference without an FBS win. They get it today against the Colorado Buffaloes. What do you want to say about this one?
It was tough. It was hard to watch. I mean, we knew going into it that they were much better than their record, Cal was, and they're a solid football team. We just couldn't generate anything on offense. I mean, and everybody's trying to put it on Brendan Lewis, but they're not playing good up front. They're not running the football, so everybody's loading the box, and we can't throw it. I mean, there's not one problem. I mean, there's multiple problems.
You played the position, though. So talk about what you see from Brendan Lewis, albeit the line's not playing well. They gave up 6 sacks today. That makes it very tough on the quarterback, obviously.
Yeah, what I see is just a lack of confidence, if you will, because he's just not having the time to throw the ball down the field. So then he's not making quick decisions. The ball's not coming out. And even when it does, he's not throwing it with confidence. So there's just confidence is the only thing I can think of because there's a lack of it right now. Yeah. So it's affecting the way he plays.
But there is something about a quarterback as well. When you're always looking over your shoulder, right? You start seeing ghosts at some point because you're thinking, where's it coming from next? That hurts. A young guy who's trying to figure it out, when that becomes part of the issue, it makes it nearly impossible to get over the hump.
Yeah, you get hit enough times, you start chasing ghosts for sure. And you kind of find where the pressure's coming from instead of keeping your eyes down the field. And you can see that's what he's doing. He's trying to find a way out of things instead of reading defenses and getting the ball out of his hands.
Yeah, it makes it awful tough. It makes it tough to play call. It makes it tough for everything when things aren't working up front. Afterward, we heard from head coach Carl Durrell, who was very disappointed.
That wasn't the type of game I was expecting, at all. I think we struggled in the first half on both sides of the ball. We had a tough time stopping them with their offense, and the quarterback made some truth. And then offensively, we couldn't quite get any continuity of really bringing some drives together. And we got 3 points on one drive, and that's really about it. And that was off a kickoff return, at half. So it's unfortunate that we just didn't play to our capabilities today. It's unfortunate for that. We had a really good week of practice, felt we were going to play our best football, and it didn't happen today. So we got a lot of work to do. The players know that. Obviously, what we're doing is we got to change things up to be more productive and more efficient and more effective with some other semblance of things. But it was not a very good performance.
That's the head coach Carl Durrell after the Buffaloes fall 26-3, generate virtually no offense as they lose to the Cal Golden Bears. Here in Berkeley, we continue with quarterback Bobby Passavetto, worked the sideline for us in the Colorado Football Network. One of the bright spots, we mentioned Nate Lamont. How about Brendan Rice?
Again, another special football player. I wish, when you see the ball in his hands, especially when he returns kicks, I wish there was a way we could just get it to him right away in the offensive game plan, because he can make things happen if we can find the ball. But we're, again, struggling to get it in playmakers' hands.
I was talking to him last week. In fact, we did him on a pregame interview on the radio network, and I said, when that ball gets kicked over your head and you want to return kicks, there's almost a look of dejection. He said, all I want is a chance. We saw the chance early. You saw that play, 67-yard return. Here was the one thing about the Buffaloes, Bobby, in this ball game. This season, that defense has been pretty consistent. That wasn't even the case today.
No, they had a hard time today, but give credit to Cal's quarterback. He's a good player, and he made quick decisions. He made good decisions. And then, when you got the defense on their heels, because they got to protect against a good quarterback, then they can run the ball. Yeah. And that's what they did. I mean, they had both facets working on the offensive side, and that puts your defense in a tough position.
Here's the thing about where Colorado's out right now. Now you got to go on the road against Oregon next week. Oregon had a heck of a ball game. They end up pulling it out 34-31 as they knock off UCLA down in the Rose Bowl. How about that challenge? I mean, the last 2 weeks, Arizona, Cal, bottom 12 in the Pac-12. Now you're going to take on the team that everyone thought was the best team in the league.
So it's not getting any easier, that's for sure. And you're going to a really tough place to play in Eugene against a team who's coming off a good win. Now they're back in the hunt. They're still in that national landscape. And so they're going to be ready to play, and it's going to be a battle. It's going to be really, really difficult for us next
Just weekend. For comparison, by the way, last Friday night, this same Cal team lost a 24-17 game to Oregon. Oregon's got some warts. They're not a dominant team, but they're a very good team, and this team's got to figure it out very quickly. It's a disappointed roster right now. You can see the guys and the effect this one had on them coming out of the locker room. They've got a big week of practice leading up to that game with Oregon next week. We believe that's going to be a 1:30 kickoff, 11:30 with the pregame on the network. That's Bobby Passavetto to wrap things up talking football. We're going to talk soccer with a big overtime win over Oregon State here in the Stampede.
Babcock Chi with it, makes a move, gets past one man, gets past one player. Now into the box, it's headed, and it's good! The score! It's over!
Well, there it is. There's the game winner as the Buffaloes win in overtime, 3-2 over Oregon State. This young lady right here, Shyra James, is the one. Does she have a mark in the front of her head where she hit that? I don't see one right now. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, back in the Stampede. Well, it was a nice weekend, huh? You got a senior day and a game like that. Talk about the game winner for us.
Well, basically, Jade was basically running up the line, and I was going to either go in front of her or go behind her into the back post. I wasn't really sure whether to do either or, and she just beat the player, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to bend back to the back post, and I was just started yelling 45, 45, making sure she was knew that I was there, and then I didn't know she was going to go high or low, so I was like going up and down like, oh, and then she hits it in the air, and I just headed it back to the back post.
When you made contact, did you know it was in?
No.
No?
Whenever I make contact, I never know if it's in or not. I just look and I stare at it, and then I'm like, okay.
Watch it into the net, right?
Yeah. I won't celebrate until like about 5 seconds after.
There you go. 2 goals yesterday in the win over the Beavers. You're playing pretty well right now. You feel that way?
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing good. Still got to work on a little bit of fitness, but I feel like I'm good on the distribution part.
Have you grown up in your sophomore year in terms of your game and developing and understanding the game and thinking the game and all those things?
I feel like my soccer IQ's definitely gotten better from last year, but there's still little things that I need to fix on, like while playing in the game. Certain things that just slipped through my head, like slipped my mind when I'm playing. So
Buffs have played, by the way, as I mentioned, 4 overtime games in a row, 1, 2, and 1 in those 4 games. Pressure rises a little bit. Maybe you guys want to take care of it in regulation. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. We called it a curse, like the overtime curse, because we've been in overtime the past 3 games, and so we're like, what's going on? Like, why can't we just get out of it? And then I feel like yesterday broke the curse, so I feel like we're back in a steady position.
When you get into a situation like that, intensity rises? Is that what changes in overtime?
Yeah. It definitely gets intense during overtime. We start to play stronger.
Now, the Buffaloes get a nice win because of the header by her, 3-2 over Oregon State. Now, you've all probably seen the play by this point in time. Sinead Hopcroft with the bicycle kick, and she just recently got a great message from a soccer legend about that spectacular play.
Bicycle shot, good! Sinead Hopcroft.
All right, let's hit some top 10 now. Stanford goalie punching it out, then Sinead Hopcroft with the bicycle kick. Anytime you get a bicycle kick, you're making the top 10. You're probably going to be in the top 3 of the game.
Hey guys, I'm Marcelo Balboa, ex-U.S. national team player, ex-Colorado Rapids player. And first of all, great result coming back 2-2 tie against Stanford, one of the top 10 teams in the nation. But Sinead, we got to talk about this bicycle kick because it was absolutely spectacular. A friend sent it to me today, and when I saw it, jumped off my couch. That was spectacular. So now, congrats, because scoring a bicycle kick puts you in a very exclusive club in the Bicycle Kick Club. So congratulations, absolutely fantastic goal, and go Buffs.
What a special moment that was, hearing from one of the greats in the game of soccer for Sinead Hopcroft on the bicycle kick. You ever done a bicycle kick in a game?
No.
No? I
think everyone thought I attempted to do one on Thursday. I don't know what I was doing there. But it definitely was a bicycle kick.
Is that something you would practice?
I mean, I've tried doing it, but it's more me almost breaking my back on the floor doing it and missing the ball. So I don't really think I'll. What
was your reaction when she did it?
It was right in front of me, and I just watched her, and I watched it go over my head. I just watched it go into the net. I was like, oh my God. I just turned around and started screaming and yelling towards her. I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, spectacular play. It really was a social media sensation. All right, senior day. What does that mean for you? And Sinead's one of those seniors, by the way, playing for them on a special day like that and getting an overtime win for them.
Yeah, it was really important to me because we're all so close as a team. So we all really have a good atmosphere, and we all love each other basically. So it's sad knowing that they're leaving, but it's a good moment to know that I'm playing with them still, and they're still here, and just celebrating them and all their accomplishments basically. Even Sinead for having a bicycle kick in her senior year before she leaves. It's actually crazy knowing that I know somebody that had a bicycle kick and that got called out as on ESPN and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Well, she's got 2 more years to try one of her own, by the way. And it's not over. She's still going to play. You got 3 more games lined up, right? You got 2 at Arizona. You end the season 3 in a row on the road, and then Utah. Give us a thought about finishing strong in these last 3 matches.
I feel like now we just have to have a mindset of winning, since we're in the position of how we had 4 overtimes. So now we just have to go in strong and just know that our mentality has to be bigger and stronger than theirs, and be able to overcome their obstacles, I guess you could say, and just come out with wins.
All right. Well, the Buffaloes, once again, they're on the road against the Arizona State, then Arizona, then Utah to wrap up the season. Good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Shyra James, she had the header in the win over Oregon State this past weekend on the road with the Arizonas. Coming up next, we're going to talk some cross country. Head coach Mark Wetmore going to join us next here in the Stampede. It's a tough weekend for volleyball as they drop a couple of matches to the Arizona schools back in the Stampede. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, Mark Wetmore, cross-country coach for Colorado, or as we like to call it, it's the highly acclaimed Mark and Mark show. Well, I'm not sure who highly acclaims it, but we sure enjoy doing it.
Soon to be canceled. Yeah.
Soon to be canceled. Cross-country coming up. A very nice showing here about a week and a half ago down the pre-nationals in Florida. The women win. The men place second. Nice effort by your team.
Yeah, it went about as well as we reasonably could have hoped. The women, judging by the rankings, were favored, but they ran better than I hoped and won by a little more than I hoped. The men beat some teams that were ranked ahead of them, though not by much. I think we had 128 and Arkansas 128 and BYU 131. So it was really a squeaker for the men, but second's fine.
Yeah, on the women's side, they win by over 100 points. It was a good team effort for everybody. Abby Nichols ends up winning, by the way. Comment about that.
Yeah, Abby was wonderful. She was up against some real good people. I saw them last week 400 or 500 to go, so it was a pleasant surprise when I found out she won. And yeah, it was a good effort. We were very good 6 deep.
Talk a little bit about her as a runner and what you see as she develops.
Well, as you know, she came to us after graduating from Ohio State and had some eligibility left, has segued into our team effortlessly. Perfect fit for us, great trainer, getting better every day.
And on the men's side, Eduardo Herrera, Lalo, finishes 7th. Men placed 2nd. Better than you expected? What do you think?
Well, Notre Dame was ranked number 2, and we beat them, but they're down a couple people right now. Arkansas was ranked ahead of us, I think, and we beat them in a tiebreaker. It was really close for us to get 2nd, but again, it was 3rd, 4th, 5th guys that ran very well and bode well for the future.
Well, pre-nationals, you look at the course and the national championships. What do you learn from doing something like that, Mark?
Well, you learn that Tallahassee's a hard place to get to from Boulder, Colorado, for one thing. Yeah, we learn the terrain, and we learn the hills, and we learn the restaurants, and we hope we're a little better next time when we go there in November, if we go there in November.
There you go. Well, next up, the Buffs will be taking part in the Pac-12 championships. We'll talk about that in a moment. Abby Nichols ends up winning, and our correspondent Lisa caught up with the winner.
Thanks, Mark. I'm here talking to Abby Nichols, who is on the women's cross-country team. Abby, let's start by talking about pre-nats, which was at Florida a couple weeks ago. You won the entire race, which is awesome. So yeah, how'd that feel?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun just to see how the team was, and it was fun to celebrate that together, and it made us really excited for what's to come when it really matters.
I guess actually moving backwards, you were injured a little bit leading up to the season, so how did you overcome that both mentally and physically to get where you are now?
Yeah, I was injured most of the summer, and when I started running again, I didn't feel like I missed too much, so that helped mentally, and just kind of working out with Emily and Rachel and everything, I just felt ready even though I was injured in the summer, so I feel like the team really helped me get past that, honestly.
Yeah, just like spending time with everybody.
Yeah, and the workout's giving you confidence.
For sure.
Yeah.
Next race is Pac-12 this Friday. Obviously, you're one of the contenders for winning the whole thing, so do you feel an added pressure because of that, or how are you getting prepared for that since there is a little bit more of an expectation for you?
I'm not putting more pressure on myself. I think, if anything, it's fun going into it with that little bit of extra pressure and confidence, and like just having my best friends next to me during the race, it doesn't make me as nervous, so yeah, definitely visualizing the race differently, and I'll just be happy if my teammates are next to me, so.
Well, good luck this weekend. We'll all be following, and back to you, Mark.
All right, Elisa, thank you. We continue with Mark Wetmore, cross-country coach here at Colorado. Now the Buffaloes getting ready for the Pac-12 championships. That's coming up on Friday in Salt Lake City. All right, what do we know about that race, that course?
Well, every time it's a team's turn to host, they pick the course. Utah's picked the flattest course I've ever seen. It's basically a track meet. 7 contiguous soccer fields with us running around on them. Not perfect for us, but we'll do what we have to do.
I guess I'm not reading between the lines. You're pretty blatant about it. You like a little elevation change in your courses.
We like some challenges. We like some puzzles to figure out. Nothing much to figure out about 7 soccer fields.
Yeah. So when you've got a very flat course like this, not a lot of elevation change, what kind of strategy goes? I mean, just go ahead and run fast or what?
Well, every team will dream up their own secret strategy, but while the elevation might be a bit of an advantage to us, the nature of the terrain is a little bit of a disadvantage because we're training fairly slow up here compared to the sea level team. So it might help the faster, speedier, more tracky teams from lower elevations.
You know, you and I have talked many times about kind of building towards the end of the season, and I've always appreciated about kind of how you approach that. Okay, so Eduardo is going back as the defending champion. And I guess this is where you're shooting for, right? All these practices and all these months you're shooting for when you get the conference championship and national championship time, right?
Those are the two big meets.
Yeah.
The regionals are in between, and you can't overlook them or you don't make it to the nationals. But yes, Pac-12 is the money meet, and the NCAA is the money meet. Everything else up to that is practice. Lalo has trained very well. He won't mind my saying he was not brilliant at Florida State. A couple guys were ahead of him there that he's beaten in the past. But he was, as I say, in the belly of the beast. He was in the middle of a lot of hard training. We'll be better rested this time. He'll be ready.
Well, good luck this weekend as the Buffs will be in the Pac-12 championships. That puts a wrap this week in the Buffalo Stampede. Thanks for joining us. I'm voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. We'll talk to you next time.